couple things, that I want to touch on, and I'd like you to speak to a little bit more. You know, one, I want to go back to, being a young mother, starting in business, starting your working career, because many times people will feel like, well, if I have a child early, or if I'm a single parent, I don't know if that was your situation. Did you, a single parent, like,
Yep.
well, I don't know if I can really do this.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that, well, I'll ask you what allowed you to continue to build on that, but also what kind of advice would you give to somebody else who is in that same situation, just wondering if they can go out and they can be entrepreneur, or they can get into the space?
Just find something that you feel like is your fit and just go with it. Um, Insurance is it's a lot with insurance. Insurance, you do pretty much everything. You're doing customer service, you're meeting people, you're networking, you just out in the field, and you have to meet people. So if you're a people's person, insurance is your thing regardless.
Yeah.
The systems you can always find out. You can learn everybody's system. It no matter what company you're with, they have their own program for you to learn by. But if you know how to deal with people, it's an easy fit. Put it that way.
Was it more?
So, mhm.
I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut your answer off. What were you saying?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's just do a lot of research on what you like to do. Like if you want to build a house, do your research, learn it, and then find out sources on the way to build it. So I feel like if you want to do something, just do it and just get expert at it, learn it, and then open. That's pretty much how I did it.
Yeah. And doing, like I said, doing that with the young child, still building your career, I think that's something that really stands out, because people make all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
About
I couldn't have no excuse. My dad was in my ear the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. So I had a different route. You're going to do this. You're going to learn it, because you're not going to be no single parent not working and living off the government. And that's basically how it went. So that was my drive.
There you go. You talk about, your son, you say, hey, I'm gonna give you the choice that I didn't have. Do you feel like when you entered into the industry, because here's the thing, you don't find many people who are persons of color. Like, you don't find many Black people who come into this business in a legacy route. Like, hey, my parents owned an agency, and I got into the business as well. Do you feel like that helped accelerate your career? Or do you feel like how do you think that it affected you in your career path?
Well, for me, I still did it different, because I learned the business, and I'm from South Carolina. So I learned the business with him. And then I decided, you know what, I don't think insurance is going to be where I'm going to retire from. Let me try something else. So I started teaching high school for like 4 years.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I taught high school, and then I realized I like kids. So I felt like, I want to be around kids, but I didn't like the teaching part of it. Because, I taught technology. So kids felt like, okay, if I know how to work my cell phone, that's all the technology I need.
Right.
So it was kind of hard to teach that, but I still got attached to the kids. So even though that didn't work out, I decided, you know what, maybe I'm gonna just go back to insurance. Since that's what I know all these years, let me just do it. So I did it, but I moved to a different state just so I can prove to my dad, hey, I can do insurance, but I don't have to be under you. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna show you I can do it without using your name, because he's well known in the area. And people think, oh, well, she's just doing that. She got things going because her dad did it, and things were handed to her. No, I didn't want people to think like that. I wanted people to see I can build it from scratch and do it myself.
Yes.
So I moved to Georgia, and then I started with Farmers Insurance.
Okay.
And I did Farmers for a year, and they're captives just like Allstate. And then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't working either, because I was, a lot of people I was sending back out of the door if the rates weren't good. So then I was like, you know what? I got to try something else. So I went the independent route. So I went independent, opened my own agency that way in a whole different state area. Nobody knew me. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Where's the customers? Because when I was working for my dad, people were knocking on the doors, the
Right.
phones were ringing like crazy.
Yes.
So it was easy. I felt like that's how things was going to be. So when I opened my agency, I was like, well, where's the people? Why is nobody calling me? Why is nobody, knocking down my door? So I really had to push harder to show him, okay, I could do it myself.
Right.
So then COVID hit.
Okay. Yes.
So I opened my office in January, then COVID hit in March.
Right.
So then I really had to show him that I really wanted to do this. So I was in an office building, and at that time, the office building, the company, they didn't want a lot of people in the building at that time. Everybody was so scared of COVID. So they was like, we're shutting it down. So then I was like, oh gosh, how am I going to get customers to come see me if we are shutting down the office?
Yes.
So then I had to work from home. So I had to rethink my whole business plan and set it up to be home based. And that's what I'm doing now.
Okay.
And I'm able to, I learned the business a different route, but I grew up, put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like with the change, since we're, in that road, with the changing times, the changing environment, how has that affected you as far as building your business, your client interaction? How has COVID been? Has it been an asset for you, or has it been something that has been more of a challenge?
It's been well, off and on, it's been challenges, mostly because I was still trying to learn being from captive to independent, which is two different ball games. So
Okay.
I was learning from Allstate, was just one company, learning their systems and how their rules and regulations. And then I went to to independent. So I learned all companies, their rules, regulations, and all that. And then the systems. So that was my biggest challenge, but I'm glad I went through it because now I'm, able to get more clientele that way because I have more choices. But challenge wise, I used to, go to customers' houses, my older people, because a lot of them don't do technology and, go on computers and do quotes and stuff. So that has been a challenge since COVID, not being able to see people.
Yeah.
But it is still working out. People are now learning that they have to adjust to technology. And if they haven't learned before, they know now.
That's it. Hey, Zoom is blowing up.
Yes.
Zooms, Teams, Google.
And I caught myself teaching them how to work Zoom. So I have my older people, they're like, I don't feel like this. And they'll have it on their phones and they'll have their niece or their grands or whatever teaching them how to work the system. But then it's just fun. I just like interacting, put it that way.
Yeah. And the experience with teaching, allows you to kind of help them throughout that process.
Yep.
And
it all comes together. Yep.
Patient, and patient with them. So you got all the factors. Speaking of teachers, see, many teachers, find their way into the insurance industry as well. Yep. How'd you find your way back to the business, after having that stint as an educator?
I think because, teachers have the summers, what you say summers off. Really, we don't have summers off because it's planning you got to do. But during my summers off, I would still, do insurance.
Okay.
So that was my way of, still staying in the insurance industry. And then once teaching, let me back up. Okay. I started teaching when my son was a student.
Okay.
Yes. So I was there to keep an eye on him. So everything, goes back to that. So I was able to keep an eye on him. And then once he graduated, he was like, Mom, I don't think you need to teach here anymore. You need to go too. So we graduated and then I went back to insurance.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that was the catalyst. All right.
Yes, that was it. He did not want me to stay there when he was not there. So
nice. Mm-hmm. So you came back to the business, coming from now couple terms that you put out there, because there's a good portion of people that are going to hear this that are not in the business, right? So when they say captive, independent, when you say captive, what do you mean? When you say independent, what do you mean?
Okay, captive means you only represent one company. So, for example, Allstate. Allstate, they do brokerage with some commercial, but when it comes down to it, Allstate is the only company that they represent, especially marketing wise.
Gotcha.
So that's all you can write. If you can't write Allstate, then you got to send them out the door. So independent, you have choices. Like right now, I have 40 companies being independent, so I can shop them through the 40 carriers.
Yes.
So if one don't work, I can go to somewhere else, and I don't have to send them out the door. So that's the best way, I think.
So you can find those workarounds.
There
So
we go.
there's debates, inside of the business. What's better? Is it better to be captive? Is it better to be independent? Based on your experience, where have you found your groove? Do you feel like where do you feel like it's better to be?
Actually, they both have good pros about it. Captive, you make more commission wise because it's all going from one company. So and you get more of support when it comes to being captive. Like Allstate, they're a big company, so therefore you get a lot of support, and it's a big name, so a lot of people know them.
Right.
Versus captive, independent, we're picking up companies that a lot of people haven't heard of.
Got you.
But the rates are good, but they're, depending on the actual agent to make sure they're insured properly. And another thing, when it comes to independent, we can shop them at every renewal. Like for me, we have a 6 months policy, a car insurance policy.
Okay.
At the 5th month mark, I'll contact the customer and let them know, hey, your insurance is coming up for renewal. You might need to shop it around, but I can handle it for you. So if I find a rate with another company that's cheaper for them and with the same, coverages, then I'll let them know, hey, we got one for you. Let's renew with this company. And it's in-house. So it all works out.
And that's where the game piece comes in.
Yes, I love that part.
Okay. Nice. So having 40 companies, that's a lot of information,
yes.
For you to learn and develop, levels of expertise on, is that something that's difficult, or is that something that's doable just over time? Like
over time, I'm still learning, put it that way. But over time, you'll learn, I know not to go through this specific company because they don't allow this type of vehicle. So at some point you'll know what kind of company to go through. Yeah. And that's for houses as well. Like for houses, if you're living on the coast, there's some companies that won't even write you. So not to go through them.
Got you. And how do you I want to say appointment, but I'll define that. How do you establish the relationship, with these companies? Like as an independent, what is your process to get these companies on board with your agency?
Well, starting off, it was rough because I didn't have proof that I was had insurance because I was captive with Farmers and that was just one carrier. So I couldn't bring that over and say, hey, I had production with Farmers, because that wasn't considered proof enough for them being independent. So what they, right now, they want you to have at least 25,000 proof of premium from other carriers, and then they'll appoint you based off of you actually writing with someone else. So
nice. Is that a do you feel like that's increases? I mean, that's pretty reasonable, 25,000 in premium, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you find some people find like that's a high barrier to entry that they can't overcome, or how doable is it to get that?
It's right now, well, in Georgia, it's easy because the car rates are so high. So it's like 5 cars and it's 25,000.
Gotcha.
So it's easy.
For the Georgia residents.
There you go. So it wasn't hard to get to that.
Okay. All right.
But they want more people on their team, so they're willing to work with you as well. And I'm licensed in different states, so that also plays a part. So if they see that you're writing a lot of business in one state and you want to pick up another state, they look at what you did in the other state and then they'll give you an appointment just without showing them proof of premium.
So not a difficult process as long as you show that you are actually working. Like as long as you show that, hey, I'm working in the business,
Yep.
You get some appointments,
Yeah.
basically.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Okay.